If I was starting out music production again today in 2025 with no experience, no gear, and no connections, it is exactly how I'd learn it and how to learn it fast. Not only has this worked for me, but it's worked for hundreds of producers I've worked with who are stuck spinning their wheels, confused, and unsure of what actually mattered. Let's break it all down. Step 1, the mindsets I'd have. First mindset you need to have is be patient, but be relentless. When you're new, it's easy to fall into this trap thinking that this stuff is simple. You'll watch a few YouTube videos and everything looks so smooth and easy, and you think, all right, I get it. But there's a massive difference between watching something and actually doing it consistently in the real world. You need real reps, real tracks, real mistakes made in the game. And even with shortcuts like mentorship, pro feedback, high-level courses, this still takes time. There's no skipping the grind. Think of it like learning a martial art. I do kickboxing, MMA, and jiu-jitsu. But in Brazilian jiu-jitsu particularly, it takes on average 10 years to earn a black belt. The fastest person to ever do it, BJ Penn. He did it in 3.5 years. Super rare, he was a phenom. But that is still 10 years of work just compressed into 3.5 years with a crazy work ethic. Most people are never going to do it that quickly. That's the kind of patience and consistency you need. You're not gonna be a pro in the first year. It's just straight up not happening when nothing seems to click in 6 months. If you want to win the game, set your expectations like a savage. Long-term vision, short-term discipline. Number 2, emotions are far more important than plugins. Let me say this straight in no uncertain terms. Nobody gives a shit what plugin chain you used. It's not about the most polished mix or the fanciest gear. It's about the musicality, the emotion, and the storytelling. Some of the best tracks ever made sound raw as hell, but they hit. Why? Because the message was clear, the vibe was right, the story unfolded over time. You can fix and refine a good idea, but you can't polish a turd. If your idea is weak, then no amount of EQ, saturation, multiband compression, or anything is going to save it. Focus on writing great ideas that are going to build tension and release and using automation to create movement. That's what really makes a track feel alive. Master that, and the technical stuff will follow. If you're totally new to songwriting and never played an instrument before, that's all totally fine. But these should be some of the first things you start looking at. How to write emotional music. That's what really matters. Number 3, I would start thinking like a listener, literally the end user of the music. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see producers producing for other producers and stacking layers, doing all these complex transitions, trying to reinvent the wheel and add all of these micro effects details, but none of it actually has any emotion nor moves anybody. It's just a technical wank fest. And at the end of the day, the listener matters. Even if your goal is to have other DJs spin your track in the club, they're only going to do that if they think it's going to work on the dance floor, i.e. the listeners are going to enjoy it and dance to it. So when you're producing, don't think, will this impress a YouTube commenter or some other producer? Think, is this going to be what keeps someone locked in at 2 a.m. in a dark club? Is this something that somebody's going to listen to on a long car journey again and again because they love it so much and get locked in? You know, keep it simple, keep it emotional, give them rhythm, tension, melody, and a story that they can feel. Number 4 is to know your why. So why are you doing this? And look, everybody wants to headline Tomorrowland, rack up millions of streams, and be on the big stage next year, but when that doesn't happen, most people give up. It's about liking the process, writing, exploring sounds, discovering something new about yourself through the music, and having ways to connect with people around the world who might also share that same vision. And if you come in for the right reasons and are driven by that, you'll keep going, you'll grow, and that's what builds real talent. And what might be important to you now when you start out could well change. Your why could change. For example, I wanted to play shows when I started out, and then I wanted to tour the world, and then I wanted to sign to big labels, and now I want to share this knowledge with everybody now. So this does change over time. So importantly, know why you're doing this right now and for the future, and let that anchor you through the plateaus and days where nothing's working, not chasing the results that may never come. Okay, the next step, the tools that I would use. This is where producers waste months or even years trying to find the perfect plugins, downloading every synth they can find, or constantly switching between DAWs and hoping that one of them magically makes things easier. But if I had to lock in and start again, I'd just pick one DAW and commit to it. I started off in Logic, but I then moved over to Ableton. Ableton is the best. Now, it's what most serious producers, mentors, YouTube tutorials are based around, and other people you'll potentially collaborate with down the line. I actually started on Logic, but I moved to Ableton because the workflow, the support, and the creative tools for House Techno are just next level. It's expensive, assuming that you buy it, which you should. But if you're serious about making music long-term, it's a lifetime investment. And that said, you can absolutely get by on any DAW if budget is tight. They're all capable of doing the same things. You know how to use it, that's the important part. And you don't need to buy a ton of plugins at the start. I still literally use stock plugins in every single project. Stock EQ, stock compression, all sorts. And when you know how to use them well, they punch way above their weight. I've built full vocal chains and drum racks with stock plugins and use them in every single track too. And here's how I want you guys to think about this. Let's just say you're trying to build a table. If you don't actually know how to build the goddamn table, who cares if you've got a $5,000 saw or a top-of-the-line drill? A skilled carpenter can build a solid table with just a handsaw, hammer, and nails, and it's the same with music. If you learn to master the basics, even with stock plugins and a handful of good sounds, you can make pro-level tracks. Sure, power tools do help, but only after you know what you're doing. And if you do want to invest in something extra, here's what I would consider buying early on: a solid synth with good sounds. If you want third-party synth, I'd recommend one that can do it all, either Serum or Diva. Serum, super visual, easy to learn, great for beginners, tons of preset packs out there. I'd also recommend grabbing some high-quality, genre-specific presets and sample packs. And yes, this is totally optional, but the right sound source for your style helps you make better tracks faster. Instead of trying to force a square peg into a round hole with some random samples, start with sounds that actually fit House Techno and were made for specifically that. I'll drop some recommendations of Serum, Diva, and sample packs in the description. And honestly, if you've got a bit of a budget, the best investment you can make isn't gear, it's mentoring, feedback, and direction. We've got free mini courses inside our school community on mixing, low-end arrangement, and all the stuff that keeps most producers stuck, especially at the start. And when you're ready to dive deeper, we can work together. We don't work with complete beginners, but that's a good enough place to get you started for free. And you don't need everything, you just need to know the tools you have well enough to move fast and stay creative. Okay, what I'd focus on first, if I had to start over today, I wouldn't be obsessing over mixing techniques or tweaking reverb settings for 6 hours. I'd focus on actually writing great music. Stuff that makes people feel something, that has a message, that has emotions, whether they want to dance, move, cry, up in the air with their arms out. Because if your idea is boring, it doesn't matter how clean it sounds, no one's going to admire your EQ curve. They want something that's going to make them feel something. Even if you've never played an instrument, that's absolutely fine, but you do need to learn the basics of songwriting, such as staying in key, writing chord progressions, using scales, knowing which notes work together. This stuff isn't fluff, it's foundational, and it's going to help you so much quicker to actually write better music. And also, one of the most underrated skills is register control, where if you put your chords and melodies in the same octave, it will sound super muddy and be difficult to actually distinguish between the chords and the melody. But spread them out, pitch it up, and listen to the difference. It's night and day. This one is a critical one to master: arrangement and energy management. Most new producers get stuck making 8-bar, 16-bar, or even 32-bar loops of just a banging drop, but then don't know what to do next. The real skill is turning an idea into a full track with energy, structure, and flow. Because the only currency the industry deals in is finished tracks. No one cares about your loops. Here's how I'd learn very fast. Use reference tracks of high quality, commercially released tracks from the best producers out there right now. Don't try reinvent the wheel. You can mimic the structure, the flow of the track with your own sounds and loop. So pick a track you like and literally study how it unfolds. You can write it down on paper or a notepad or a digital notepad. Like, ask yourself, where's the tension? What's happening to the sounds? Where's the release? What happens every 8 bars, every 16 bars? What parts are in at the start? Most of the tension and release And the magical moments are coming from things like automation, transitions, ear candy, and controlling the energy on the dance floor, or just throughout the track if it's not a dance floor track. Dance floor tracks specifically are about energy management. It's not about sounding busy, it's about keeping people engaged over time and constantly dancing to the groove. If you think I wouldn't dance to this or I would stop moving, then it's not going to work on the dance floor. Sound selection is 80% of the mix. Now, here's what no one tells you. Your mix is already 80% decided by the sounds you pick at the start. So if you choose crappy sounds, you'll fight the whole way through, but choose the right sounds and it's so much easier. Your mix is already half done. And think genre specific. Kick and basses that actually are going to work together and complement. If you have a super long kick tail, there's going to be no space for your bass, but choose a tighter, punchier kick, there's now space for your bass. Also, leads that live in different octaves. Don't just have everything drowning over everything else in the same register. As well, like tighter, punchy drums work better. So like hacks that aren't just drowning everything else and loads of long tails and everything. You can't polish garbage, but if you start with better samples and presets, better starting materials, then you're gonna get there so much quicker and your mix will sound better. Plus with all the register control. And this is why I literally recommend grabbing some solid packs early. I'll drop the links in the description for stuff I personally rate for House and Techno. Mixing and production is intentionality, not complexity. Mixing in general is another trap where people get lost trying to sound pro, but they don't even know what they're doing, right? You've got to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What's the goal of this EQ? Why am I adding this compressor? What's the problem I'm solving? And when you know the why, every decision gets so much easier. And also, completely straight up and down, 80% of mixing is just the volume balance. We have a full free mixing course in our academy, links in the description. But for now, just know this. If it sounds bad, check your faders before you reach for a plugin. And something that's also really important is train your goddamn ears. Use tools like Sound Gym. You don't get better by just randomly getting better for no reason and guessing. You've got to train. If you want to get big and strong, you've got to train. You've got to go to the gym, lift weights, be consistent. This is how you level up. Same with your ears. You've got to train them to actually understand what you're hearing. And Sound Gym is great for that. Okay, next up, how to actually finish tracks. If there's one thing that's holding most producers back, it's not the gear, it's not the talent, it's the fact that they never finish anything. They're just making loops, getting stuck, tinkering around, then starting a new track, rinse and repeat over and over. Having a workflow for this, a step-by-step process, is going to really help with that. But yeah, some ideas really just aren't going to be ones you release. That doesn't mean you shouldn't finish them anyway, because there are important lessons and skills that you will learn through doing this. Sometimes finishing a bad track teaches you more than starting 5 new ones, particularly because skills like arrangement, automation, and creating great transitions, you'll learn what not to do next time, but also how to build momentum and keep the process going. Now, if you're literally going insane with this track and you think like this is the worst track ever, then maybe don't finish it. But too many producers are wasting 3 months or even more trying to perfect one 16-bar loop, thinking that this is going to be the one that blows up. Spoiler alert, it's probably not going to be. Your 50th track is going to be 10 times better than the overcooked first one, and so is the 150th track. So set a goal, finish X number of tracks in X number of weeks. So it could be a track every week. And by the way, that's totally possible with our workflow. I'll show you that at the end of the video. Regardless of your situation, it's totally possible to make a track a week, even if you work full-time, have a job. I've taught this workflow to thousands of people, and anybody can finish a track a week. But the thing is, it doesn't matter how good these tracks are, just get them done and move on, because quality comes through quantity, and then you have the ability to choose what to release. Every time you finish a track, you're training your brain to close the loop. That's what makes finishing feel normal, not painful. And once this becomes your default, you start solving real problems. You start fixing the structure, learning the energy flow, dialing in the mix balance, tweaking transitions. That stuff only happens when you're working with full tracks, not 8-bar loop. Every track is going to have a different set of problems and a different set of solutions, but they're all similar, just in different contexts. But often the solutions are similar once you understand the fundamentals of how and why to do it. Start chasing finished tracks. That's where the real growth is, because DJs are not going to play your loop, labels are not going to sign an 8-bar loop, and fans certainly aren't going to come to your show over this sick loop or 1-minute demo you had. This is where the real growth is. This is where the real fun lives. And the next step would be to surround yourself with other producers, like-minded producers, and ideally people who were a bit further along. When I started out, I didn't have anybody. All my friends worked in finance and were like tech bros. But here's the truth. You're probably not going to get very far doing this alone. It's a team game. It's all about collaboration. And yeah, music production can be isolating, especially when you're sat in the studio all day making music. It's just you, your DAW, your doubts, and maybe some tutorials. But when you're surrounded by other producers on the same path, whether that's in person or internationally online, everything changes because you can get feedback, motivation, accountability, and you see other people struggling, solving it, and leveling up. And it reminds you that you're not crazy. This shit just takes time. Everybody's journey is going to be different, but what can speed that up massively is collaboration, which is going to make you 10 times better. And whether that's co-producing, remixing, sharing racks, project files, or whatever that might be, you pick up techniques, workflows, and tastes you've never discovered in solo. And let's just say you suck at melodies. If you worked with somebody that was good with melodies, then you're going to learn a ton from them. And maybe you're really good at bass lines, but they're bad at melodies. That's a really great combination of skills to share. This is exactly why we built our free school community. It's full of thousands of producers, beginners, intermediates, and advanced, some even pros, all learning, sharing, and helping each other grow. We packed it with loads of free mini courses on mixing, arrangement, finishing tracks, all the stuff that keeps people stuck. Link is in the description. Look, if you want to get good even quicker, the fastest possible route, find mentorship from someone who's already done what you're trying to do and good at teaching it. Just because somebody is successful themselves doesn't mean that they're able to convey that information well to others and have replication. But this person doesn't have to be me. You just find somebody you trust who can give you honest feedback and help you skip the years of trial and error, because what really speeds things up is not watching 100 random YouTube videos, but having someone literally show you the path tailored to your situation and keep you moving forward. So stop trying to figure it all out alone and plug into a community and build a network. You'll move 10 times faster and have more fun doing it, and maybe you'll meet friends for life. Finally, how to increase your value as an artist. Now, if you want to get more opportunities, so gigs, collaborations, label interests, or literally anything in this world, not even just in the music industry, stop asking yourself, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? This game rewards people who bring value, full stop. It's not about being the best producer, the best mixer, or having the most technical kick drum or anything like that. It's about what you bring to the table as a full artist. Your vibe, your energy, your ideas. Are you someone people want to work around? Labels don't just sign good music, they sign interesting people with something to say. You have to have a strategy, because random posts and hope aren't going to get you anywhere. You need a strategy that's going to build and deliver value, create leverage for you, and get that value seen by the right people. So ask yourself, who do you want to connect with, and what would be valuable to them? And reverse engineer how to deliver it to them. Use the skills you already have. Are you a designer? Are you a writer? Do you know marketing? Are you organized as hell? Are you sick at creating content? Are you a connector? Use those skills that you have from your day job or elsewhere, because most of them are relevant. I helped a guy literally go full-time in a week who came to me and said, hey, I want to get more clients for mixing and mastering. I don't know how to do it. And I said to him, like, well, what do you do for work? And he's like, why is that relevant? It's like, oh, I'm an SDR, which is basically a sales rep that goes out and actively speaks to people to find new business for their company. And I said, well, why don't you just do exactly what you do in your day job, but in the music industry? And he was like, I can't believe I've never thought to do that. It is so obvious and simple. This guy literally now works full-time in music. He loves his life, full-time producer, working with clients he wants to work with, because of just that one shift. Like, hey, maybe I actually do have skills people want in the industry as well. Even if you feel that you don't have any skills, share other people's music, from labels, from promoters. Share other producers' music, share labels' music, and DM thoughtful feedback. Help promote events like from promoters, and always be that person who's lifting up others. And this is how you get noticed by people who are above your level. You can give them value first, not just spam your SoundCloud links and beg for attention. And this is one of the most important ones: move people off platform, because this is the key that most people miss. Once you've got people engaging, get them off the algorithm. Build yourself an email list, start a group chat, create your own little world for people, because this is how you build a real community around what you do, one that you own and control. You don't have to play to the rules of the algorithm to hope and go viral. When you're valuable, helpful, consistent, notice, and they start inviting you in and giving you opportunities. They'll start collaborating with you, start asking how they can help you. The music scene thrives on energy and generosity. Don't wait until you make it to become valuable. Start now. Be useful, be generous, be strategic. That's how you actually grow. All right, now you've got the exact mindset, strategy, and tools that I would use if I was starting off in 2025 again. None of this actually really matters until you take action. Go check out this video where I'll show you the exact workflow I use to make tracks within 6 hours or less. I'm gonna walk you through exactly how I go from a blank canvas on Ableton to a full idea in under 20 minutes. And if you're not already inside, join our free school community. Link is in the description. You'll get access to bonus courses, resources, challenges, and be surrounded by thousands of producers who are already on the same path as you. You don't need fancy gear, you don't need to be a prodigy, and you definitely don't need permission. You just need a plan, a few reps, and the right people around you. Start the next video, and let's get to work.